I had a tough time deciding whether or not to make this video. Part of me wants to keep a lot private. I think I'll still be able to tell the story with having privacy for Travis and I. I know how much I put out there publicly of this relationship, so part of me feels like I'm just gonna keep getting questions about it until I answer it and just kind of leave it all out there. But also I do feel like I owe you guys some type of explanation because of the way that you've supported us through the whole journey of our relationship. Travis and I broke up about 2 weeks ago now. It was right after I came back from my trip with him. I know a lot of you guys were asking like, oh, did you break up on that trip? And we did not break up on that trip. We broke up 2 days after we got back from that trip. We both kind of knew things were not so good when I was visiting. Let me talk to you about the challenges of our relationship, kind of how we got to this point. Officially started dating at the end of July, but as you guys were part of, you saw that we had been talking a lot up until that point of dating, and I had even been talking to him for a year before that. We actually only were officially together for about 7 months, and when we were getting into this relationship, we kind of were a little bit worried because we knew the friendship that we had created from just talking to each other virtually, FaceTime, and we really liked that kind of companionship dynamic we had created. So when we started dating, we did want to like make some type of agreement to ourselves that, you know, if we broke up, it's not a never see you again, never talk to you again. We want to remain friends in some sort of way. Since breaking up, that is our goal. But when we started dating, we realized, you know, this is going to be very difficult because we're only going to see each other once a month. And when we had started the relationship, we knew that Travis was going to be graduating April of 2024. Travis and I are 2 years apart, but the thing is that the way that he went about getting his college degree and changing his major set him back a couple years. So this is actually his 6th year of college, hence why he's graduating April of 2024. So this time frame, no matter what, was going to be a point of decision for us, whether it was me moving there, him moving here, him getting a remote job, and then saving up some money to move here. Whatever it was this time of year was always going to be like a check-in. Long distance in general is really hard. I think it would have been a different situation if we had started dating in the same city and then somebody moved long distance. I feel like that would be really jarring. But because we started dating with the intention of being long distance, we're very much on the same page of the effort needing to put in to sustain this relationship at all. And we were always great at texting, FaceTiming. And what I liked about this relationship in comparison to others is that it wasn't so much text focused where it's like, why aren't you texting me back, whatever. We were both very respectful of other people, or we were both very respectful of each other's time, doing things throughout our day, and we would definitely focus more on calling rather than texting. And I think that really helped a lot in keeping the emotional connection of our long distance relationship. As much as those things are good, it is still like really tough for the month that you're not with each other. Travis had expressed to me that he was struggling a little bit with the distance, not necessarily having to do with me personally, just the concept of not being able to be around somebody that you love. I think we were both just handling it in different ways. What I really appreciated about all of it is that we were never like keeping secrets from each other or like silently resenting somebody or staying quiet about problems that we had in our relationship. He was very much vocal to me about that. I would be vocal to him about that. We were always very understanding, and I felt like every time we were presented with a challenge, it was us mutually trying to work towards a solution instead of like one person arguing their side and the other person arguing their side. It's kind of different from past relationships I've been in as well. So I go and visit him. I think I left February 16th and I came back February 23rd. Before then, I think we were talking about like, geez, this long distance is really getting hard. And we were like, we knew that this time frame was approaching, and he had kind of been toying with like moving to New York, searching for jobs. Like sometimes he'd be sending me a listing from New York, sometimes he'd be sending me a listing from Grand Rapids. We both kind of just were like, we don't know, figuring things out. Once I visited him and we were in person, we were actually just talking logistically about it. I kind of expressed to him like I felt guilty for applying extra kind of pressure on this job search and essentially riding on this relationship, because we had decided if we couldn't live in the same city after he graduated and would continually have to do long distance distance with no end in sight. Like, that's just not a sustainable relationship for us. On this trip, we were really talking probability of that happening. From what he's told me, he was feeling a lot of pressure with the job search and like understanding that if he gets a job in Grand Rapids, he wants to be psyched about that, but that's also at the expense of losing his relationship. And this was not like any type of ultimatum I was giving him. This was both our mutual agreement of wherever he gets a job is going to determine whether we continue to be together or not, because it's just really hard. Like, financially it's hard, emotionally it's hard to do long distance. At the end of my trip visiting him, he had a couple interviews for some jobs in Grand Rapids, and I think there was like a little bit something in my gut that I was like, he's going with that, I know it. And he was kind of like, oh, like, we'll see, we have time to figure out. I think he just really didn't know what he wanted to do, but also a little bit in denial of coming to this point of making such a large decision. I would be no better. That is a really tough place to be in, and I felt guilty for him being in that position. I came back here. Monday was fine. Tuesday, we were talking on the phone, and he was talking about how he's really excited about this job and having an interview, and I think I just said something like, oh, like, it sounds like you kind of want to stay in Grand Rapids, and that's okay if you do. I totally understand. Like, it's a lot to ask someone to uproot their life for you, especially only dating 7 months. So I wholeheartedly understood if that was not feasible for him at this time. Like, I knew New York was a dream of his, but I think it would be more probable for him to fulfill that dream in the future instead of so fresh out of college, making such a large decision of getting a new job, moving, like, getting all that together. Like, I know it's rough. So I just said, like, it sounds like you kind of want to stay in Grand Rapids, and that's fine if that's what you feel is best for you, because I want what is best for him, but I just need to know. Thought about it for a second, and he was like, I think I just need to stay here. And I was like, okay, I get it. Then we were like, so what now? Does this mean we're broken up? And we were just kind of like, well, I guess. So it was like, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, it's not like we really wanted to do that, and it felt kind of weird to just break up without like an event type of thing. Like, I guess that's pretty much how it happened. Regardless of it being mutual and just being matter of fact, it still is sad. I do think that a breakup from a long distance relationship is a little different, at least from the ones I've previously experienced, because my everyday life doesn't really change. Like, I still do the same things every day, whether I was dating him or not, because he's not living in the city. My everyday not changing is really keeping me grounded. Grateful for that. But you know, there's other sad things about breaking up long distance where it's like, oh my god, am I literally never gonna see him again? Freshly after we broke up, we were trying to like slowly wean off of each other, where it's like, okay, maybe we don't text as much tomorrow, and then we text even less the next day, and then it went to no texting at all, just like one call a day. Whatever we said, we were like, if that is too much for somebody, instead of like ghosting or just not answering, just let the other person know, like, hey, this is actually too much for me right now, I need some space. We're just kind of taking it day by day, and you know, one little check-in every now and then. What I feel like is different about this one is that we literally don't live in the same city. We don't have any mutual peers. We're not gonna run into each other. So the contact is already like very limited. Luckily, the fact that there's like no end in sight of ever seeing each other again, neither of us are holding out hope of like this communication post-breakup is going to lead to something more, because it would have to be so verbalized and intentional, because the only way we would ever see each other again is if we're flying to see each other. I think him and I are doing pretty fine right now, and think what you want to think, but that is what's happening and what is working for us right now. Let me see about the questions you guys left me. I tried to cover as much as I could, but see if there's any questions that highlight something I've missed. How are you helping yourself get through this, like self-care and stuff? Great question. When I become like an emotional wreck, or I know like things are going down bad on the inside, I like prepare for war. I'm like, journal, read, meditate, walk, paint, draw. I am on it. I am on it. And I have so many different like healthy coping mechanisms that like once you get more time from after you break up with somebody, you have so much more time, so you have time to like do these other little random tasks. It helps so much, and it really is a nice way to get back in touch with yourself. I'm thinking about making that a series on TikTok, because I did like a whole multi-page journal entry in my journal about like things that make me happy and things that I can do when I'm feeling sad. 2020, when I went through my last breakup, I had a huge chalk and jump rope phase. and honestly was really fun. Oh, I need to address this. Why not move there with him? Great question. You know, it seems obvious, like if he wouldn't want to move to New York, why wouldn't I move to Grand Rapids? It's a simple question. I mean, it's a simple answer. I don't want to live in Grand Rapids. And the difference, I think, between my side versus his side of like me moving there versus him moving here is that he actually like loves New York and would like to live here someday. I think Grand Rapids is cute for a visit, but 0% desire to ever live there in my whole entire life. It was just the wrong timing for him to move here. So I don't want to like give up what I'm kind of building here. I just signed a year lease for, my apartment is a year lease. I can't just get up and move. A. B. I have a new lease I just signed for a studio space for my vintage studio that I'm sharing with another vintage owner creator friend, and we're super excited about that. We're gonna do pop-ups. Y'all can come shop, arts, crafts, whatever you want. I'm really excited about that. There's just like things like that that are tying me here. Last year I had my own thrifting show called Thrift Talk on Yahoo, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever had in, I guess, my career, you could call it. I don't know. It was so exciting, inspiring, gave me so much confidence, but this is the place to do those things, not Grand Rapids. Did you ever think distance could be the reason you broke up when you first started dating? It's always in the back of our minds, I think. It's like hard if you don't have any end in sight. This one just says Pierre with a million crying emojis. Yeah, that's rough. That's been rough. My poor sweet baby child of divorce. Pierre is not my cat. Pierre is Travis's cat. However, Pierre only exists because of me. I'm not saying that narcissistically, it's literally true. We were on FaceTime one day and I sent him a Craigslist listing and I was like, you should get this cat. And he was like, oh my God, should I? And I was like, yes, you have to get this cat. And then he went and picked it up from Craigslist and got the cat. So, just saying. He sends me pictures of Pierre every now and then. I hope one day I get to see Pierre again, but also, with new beginnings here, because I'm getting the studio space, I'm able to move. I don't have a closet in my room here, so I have an armoire and a clothing rack in the living room that's on the other side of this wall. And when I get my studio space, I'm gonna move that clothing rack into my studio. So then I have space to put a litter box, which means I can get a kitty of my own. Not that like that replaces Pierre, but it just gives me the kitty fix. Do you still have feelings for each other? Does that not hurt more than the distance? So that was the other thing too we were talking about. We were like, so long distance is really hard, but is the pain of it being hard worth the pain we would be experiencing for not being together at all? Obviously it hurts not being together, but we don't want to keep doing long distance for what is now seeming like forever if we have literally no end in sight of moving together. How many years can you possibly sustain doing long distance? If you're never ever gonna live in the same city, which there's a probability that could be, like, was that all a waste of time? Like, I don't know. It just is kind of like the timing is not working out for what we need to do in our lives. I think we both think this was the right decision for now. Since the start of your relationship was so public, did you think about the possibility of it ending? Absolutely. I think when we started doing the whole thing, I don't even think we thought it was possible we could actually really date. I think we both thought it was just gonna be like a summer fling where like I visited him spontaneously and like then we just maintained some type of online pen pal-ship. I don't know. It was public before we even knew it was going to be anything serious, and when it did become serious, even when we started dating, we were like, holy shit, we better not break up because that's gonna be like horrible. Now having so many people involved, really afraid to post that we broke up to begin with because I know people are really evil online, like comparing the couple, you know, shipping them with somebody else, whatever. You know that would hurt if you were in that position, so I was really afraid. But everyone's been really nice so far, so I really do appreciate that, and I feel like I could take a deep breath and not worry, and it really underlined the fact that you guys are here for me and not somebody that wants me to cry. You think you might get back together at some point? It's like you can't say that. Like, I could not know. But unless we ended up living in the same city, I don't think getting back together would ever be a smart move because then we would just be in the same position we were already in. I know him and I both really appreciate your support. And I do feel like one day we will see each other again, but until then, it is just me. That's what it is for now. Love you guys.